The Acolyte started out as one of the lowest performing Star Wars shows on Disney Plus, coming in some 3 million views shy of what Disney even reported for Ahsoka after its first week in existence. But now, if we're to believe some of the data coming from third-party tracking sources like Luminate and Variety Magazine, well, it seems the audience has trailed off even more since then, as this show is just failing to captivate fans out there.
Really, you want to go there? You want to take poor innocent Luca and take us into the Acolyte with that?
Yes, I do. Because we need to look at some of these weekly streaming charts. And speaking of Luca, you look here, June 21st to June 27th. There's Luca at number 9, basically kind of getting reintroduced on Disney Plus again. 51.9 million. It's not going to hit the heights of Encanto. It's not going to hit the heights of Moana. But it's just hanging out there on Disney Plus, and it seems to be doing okay. Again, this was not just released. This has been re-promoted. Yeah. So it was dropped on Disney Plus, what, 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago. And then they tried to put it back into theaters to no avail. And then
it's impressive that it's on the list. Let's put it.
That's my point. That's exactly it, Alan. And this is not a spring chicken when it comes to releases on a streaming service. This thing has been there for a couple of years.
Let me be ignorant for a moment, for the sake of the audience and for the sake of I truly am ignorant on this. Okay, I'm not going to feign otherwise. This is okay. So this is not Nielsen. This is Luminate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Second question then. Typically, when we look at Nielsen numbers for streaming originals film, we'll see at the bottom of that top 10 movies that have like 200 million minutes watched. So this is suggesting that these are the top 10 original movies on these streaming platforms.
Well, here's the thing, though.
Yeah, help me out, because I have a hard time seeing how Luca's beating Moana, because Moana's always sitting up there in that top 10.
Yeah, isn't Moana always like in the top 3 or something on Disney Plus?
But Moana is not a streaming original.
Right.
Oh, okay.
That's
classifies.
The difference. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a subcategory of a subcategory. Now I get it.
This is original content produced for streaming. That's all Luminate shows in the variety pieces. And the same goes true, because I addressed this last week, because I had people asking me about this, saying, oh my God, Warner Brothers lied. House of the Dragon isn't on the chart because it's not a Max original. House of the Dragon is still HBO. It's still produced for linear, and it streams on Max for sure. And 80% of the audience is watching it on Max, probably. I'm guessing.
Can I just say, watching House of the Dragon, and then like 2 days later going to the Acolyte.
I know.
It's like going for a nice steak dinner and then eating like leftover food that's been sitting there for a while. Like that's what
spoiled milk for dessert. Yeah, week old
exactly,
spoiled milk for dessert after your filet mignon.
I can't believe how competent House of the Dragon is compared to the Acolyte. It's
cheaper than the Acolyte.
That's just come on, dude.
It's half the price of the Acolyte.
It's got to be money laundering at this point.
Do you know how much they spent on those fake ferns for the forest? Do you know?
Yeah. And that's just it. And it was kind of funny. We had a chat in the member stream Friday night, not all of which I will repeat here. But to say that, I mean, we had a conversation because people were asking questions. There was rumors about this and that going on and all kind of financial shenanigans at the Acolyte. And I'm like, no, this is just typical. Look at everything Disney does. There's this typical overspending, frankly, financially incompetent management layer on all thee productions. Hey, we're going to go stay in London for 7 months to shoot this show. We're going to go out there, and Leslie Headland and her friends are going to probably stay at a really nice ritzy hotel in London, 45 minutes from Shinfield's sound stages. Probably lodging and catering for that show out of 180 million, I bet was probably at least 10 of it. It would not shock me.
Let's also be real. The DEI consultants were being paid a lot and working overtime.
Oh yeah, yeah.
on the Acolyte.
Definitely.
But the point of bringing up Luca that brings us to Acolyte is here it is. The Acolyte dropped 11% this week. And I've been pretty much on the money with this since the first week. So the first week came out and Luminate showed about 260 or I think 280 million minutes consumed during that opening week. Remember, they had 2 episodes. It was roughly an hour's worth of content. And I said, as we got close to the release of episode 3 for The Acolyte, I suggested that I'm betting, considering like what Alan came and broke on Film Threat, talked about here on our show a few weeks ago, that episode 3 was going to really tick some people off, right? So there was all this buzz built around, what is episode 3 going to do? It got people interested. The hate watching went up. And we saw episode 3 blow up to almost 380 million minutes of consumption. Not just that episode, but that was for the entire week, which included episode 3, right? But it was a huge bump. And I said it was going to get a huge bump about a week before it, or a few days before it landed. I think on the Sunday show before episode 3 came out, I said, I'm expecting a huge bump. And then when we get to the 4th episode the week after, we're going to see it fall back down to earth, and then it's going to roll off. Guess what, kids? It's exactly what it's doing. The Acolyte, this is the week that episode 5 dropped. 232 million minutes consumed based on Luminate's measurements. 262 million minutes consumed the previous week, which is when episode 4 would have dropped. That was down from 380 the week before with episode 3. So we're seeing that roll off. And to be clear, episodes 3 and 4 officially, if you go to Disney Plus Acolyte on Disney Plus, you look at episode 4 and you look at episode 5, they both clock a 35-minute listed runtime. So there's no sharp variance here like we had an hour episode one week and then a 30-minute episode the next week. These episodes were roughly exactly the same runtime, and we're still seeing audience drop-off, which is not uncommon for shows that release episodically, but The Acolyte didn't start anywhere near high enough, considering its massive budget that it needed to justify that budget. And we're still rolling off, and we've still got half the media desperately trying to defend this show.
Am I mistaken that when The Acolyte came out, the first 2 episodes didn't get as many minutes as like the 1 episode premiere of Mando season 3 or Ahsoka?
Yes.
I believe it was.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me
it
point out
definitely
something
seemed
really
less
funny,
than
too.
50 less than half of Ahsoka, my understanding.
Yeah. So, yeah, the numbers that Alan's referring to, just to remind maybe some folks or let the new viewers know, Disney gave us a figure of release plus 5. So roughly 6 days from Tuesday through Sunday for Ahsoka. They said the first episode of Ahsoka was viewed 14 million times, 14 million views, based on the total watch time available divided by the number of minutes that were watched. The same period for The Acolyte yielded about 11 million. And that's globally. That's not Disney Plus, North America, Western Europe. That's the whole globe, the entire planet of Earth, like I keep saying. House of the Dragon turned in just shy of 8 million views. The premiere of season 2 turned in 8 million views on Sunday night alone, just in the United States. Not even North America, just the United States.
That tells you everything.
So that tells you how much bigger it is. $350,000 per finished minute of product thereabout for the season of House of the Dragon is what we're estimating. $350,000 to $400,000, almost $750,000 per finished minute on The Acolyte, because they've only got 8 episodes instead of 10 like House of the Dragon, and their episodes average about 30 minutes as opposed to House of the Dragon's 1-hour episodes, solid hours. So big difference. But
let me point out something really funny just quickly. First of all, I find it interesting that, and pull that back up, I'm going to need it to make reference for the audience to see this. First of all, I think it's interesting because The Acolyte, wherever it started, it is not where we currently are. When you're pulling in 232 million minutes watched, this is really bad for Disney. This might be worse than Willow territory. We'll have to go back to check that. But here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
The Acolyte is chasing a female audience. They've been trying for a decade now to convince women to take on Star Wars as if it is a female anthem film, as if Star Wars is a land set in Mattel, a galaxy far, far away with Barbie. But that's not happening because, look, ladies and gentlemen, Bridgerton has the Acolyte's audience. The audience that's supposed to be coming to watch Star Wars is watching Bridgerton. And it's not just that Bridgerton Season 3 is beating the Acolyte.
Yep.
So is Bridgerton Season 2. And guess
and
what?
Almost Bridgerton Season 1.
That's right. Individually, all 3 seasons of Bridgerton almost defeated the Acolyte. Good Lord.
My favorite article about Bridgerton that I saw recently was we have to normalize mixed weight couples.
I saw your tweet. I saw your tweet. Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, dude.
We've come
that.
We've come this far.
And skinny spouses all over the planet said, no, please, no.
Now, one other thing before I pull this chart down, and then we can have some discussion on the episode itself while we're all here. The other thing I want to note, Pro, since you asked about the differences between this and Nielsen, that's very important to remember is the measurement periods. They are very different. So Nielsen, as we've talked about many times, like I mentioned to the audience, Nielsen runs from essentially Monday morning, I think Pacific time, 12:01 a.m. And then it goes all the way through the week, through the weekend to Sunday night, midnight, or 11:59 p.m. Pacific, right? That's their measurement week. Luminate measures data beginning on, I believe, it goes from, they start tracking by weekend. They start Friday, 12:01 a.m. And they roll through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday the following week, and then reset. And the reason they do that is because Luminate, and I think they've got a good idea there. The reason they do that is because, let's face it, who dominates streaming? Netflix. Look at the charts. It's not hard to see it. Streaming originals here. Netflix, 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 Netflix. Go down to the movies. Streaming originals, Netflix, 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 right? When does Netflix drop their stuff? They drop it Friday at midnight. They run it through the weekend, all through the following week. And a lot of others have kind of followed suit with these Friday midnight weekend drops. So that's why they're measuring it the way they are. So it does give us an interesting perspective. And the reason I bring that up is that when you look at these things like The Acolyte, there's a lot more spillover of an episode's potential watch into the next week than, say, Nielsen, because Acolyte drops on a Tuesday night. So you get Tuesday night plus Wednesday plus Thursday. So you basically have release plus 2 when it comes to the Acolyte numbers here. And then once it resets, it's picking up anybody that might be going back and watching it over the weekend, which, to be honest with you, the watching of that show by that point, 3 days out, it's mostly done. It's mostly done, I think. So point being is, though, there still may be, if you look at the Acolyte numbers here to tell you how goofy and kind of even worse this is, this 262 million minutes consumed last week, let's say 40 million of that might have been spilled over. 50 million of that might have been spilled over from episode 3.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.